Anywhere you looked required changes, from a team structure, from a team spirit, from a team mission. Everything had to be restarted. If it's right time, right place, you're gonna succeed. Wrong attitude, wrong business, wrong team, it will be a nightmare.
Welcome to another episode of Going Beyond the Title from Individual Contributor to Leader, where we interview leaders on the topic of the transition from individual contributor up into a leadership position. I'm your host, Mike Scarpone. Today's guest is Paul Batanov. Paul is the head of engineering for EMEIA at HumiSeal. He has been a senior manager of engineering, and as he says, engineering is in his blood. On his LinkedIn profile, he has the greater Reading area. So I asked Paul in our pre-call, "What part of Pennsylvania are you from?" And Paul, your response was,
Well, actually, we are in Reading, but Reading, United Kingdom. So,
I made the assumption you were in the States, and here you are in England. International conversation here. So, first of all, let's talk about how you got into this work of engineering and what you're currently doing.
okay, thank you, Michael, for the introduction and thank you for the question. Engineering probably started for me when I decided to go my family route because all my family from my granddads, my mom and dad, my sister, all into engineering in different sectors, and I think there was no big choice for me just to go into engineering. And I was lucky enough. I joined quite a big brewery where I went from shop floor up into team leadership
Okay.
and been growing through the different roles across years. And my latest role is head of engineering for the last 3 years.
Okay. And tell me what your company does.
So Chase Corporation, we're part of Chase Corporation, is quite a big company. I look after sites in Europe and India, and in a simple words, we produce conformal coatings. So effectively, if you're using an iPhone, there is a drop of our product in every iPhone in the world.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, technology, mechanical engineering, I'm assuming.
It's special coatings for printed circuit boards, which will protect them from overheating, from mechanical impact. So quite a specific product.
Okay. I understand. I get it. Um, Tell me something you're most proud of through your leadership journey.
Previously I worked for the textiles industry, and again it was quite a big company. We had approximately 40 sites across UK, and originally when I joined a very successful site which was high end, and going through the roles. At one point, I joined a very challenging site with a big engineering team, approximately 20 heads, and site required a change of management culture,
Okay.
and it was an extremely challenging task. Anywhere you looked required changes, from a team structure, from a team spirit, from a team mission. Everything had to be restarted.
Okay.
Uh, Business plan for that site was to shut it down in 2023.
Hmm.
All new management did such a great job. The site received a new future. Business decided to keep it. And I'm really proud for being a part of that cultural change. The site still within a business, and the site is still successful.
Now, how did that cultural change happen? Changing a culture in an organization can be challenging to say the least. How did that occur? How did that happen, Paul?
It's more than just the challenging. It takes so much of your energy, so much of right leadership.
Yes.
You first of all, you need to see a wider picture. How you gonna get there? How much resources you will need, and how you gonna do it. Key point out of all this equation is people. You know, if you don't put right people in right place, that never gonna work. And occasionally you have to lose few heads to make the system work. It doesn't really matter how you're gonna do it, move them into a different area or find them different job, but unless you take people who work against you out, you won't be able to build a successful team.
Beautiful. How long did that transition take in terms of changing culture?
I would say we started to see changes probably within 12 months.
Okay, so it took about a year for that to all happen. Um,
Yes. If we're talking about real life, because you you would need several months to make your assessment of a team and then to put a strategy in place, go through HR related issues, and then only you start putting in place your new structure, your new plan. And it's not a day one when you'll see brilliant, it's all working. You need
Right.
at least 3 to 6 months to see, yes, actually the plan is right and we can see changes.
Yeah, yeah. In so many organizations I work with, Paul, they try to change culture. Um, and after a month or so, it usually collapses. And what I hear you saying is that it doesn't happen overnight. You really got to pay attention. You know.
Uh, it's much more than just one leader. You need to have support from all the management team. You need to have enough resources to do your change. Uh, I've seen on several occasions when people say, "Brilliant, we make a change. We're lean manufacturing. Uh, can you do it without any funding?" Mm, maybe you can do some quick wins, but without a proper support, it doesn't happen.
Yes. 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 What What about on the other side of the coin? A mistake that you've learned the most from?
I would say it was my first year into management role, and
Okay.
I was younger. I was much more enthusiastic, and I thought I'll have power to change the world. Um, at some point, at some point, you run out of your power, and you realize, uh, take a step at a time. Don't try to change everything in one go.
Yes. Yes. That such wise advice, right? Don't try to change everything at once. Um, and what did you find out when you started trying to take the world on fire?
I became a manager when I was 25, and I think it's the best uh, time I ever had. It was the most challenging and most difficult year I ever done, and it worked very well for me. I changed country, I changed business where I work, and
Mhm.
I made a step up into a management role from a team leader's role. And I had to learn quite a lot, and I'm very grateful I had a very wise leaders I could take an example from.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful to universe these people were in those places where they were.
What did you have to learn when you made that transition? What were some of the big things that you thought you knew, but then, when it came to managing people, it was a whole different.
There is probably a perception that managers just say things and they happen. It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
Uh, you know, uh, I lead by example. So, and this is what quite often surprises some of my colleagues that I can wear a boiler suit and go and do things myself. And I feel quite confident if I ask somebody to do a task and I can explain. And my expectation is very simple. If I can do it, you also should be able to do it. If
Yes.
not, then we've got a qualification issue.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Be able to get down into the weeds with people, right? Be able to do it. Yeah. I love that. Um, what's the biggest challenge that you're trying to solve right now with your people that you supervise?
Uh, you know, uh, People gonna be the biggest challenge for any manager.
Mhm.
It's the most complicated asset you have on site.
Mhm.
Um, my philosophy is, try to find strong sides of every team member. If we purely talk about engineering, some engineers are great electrician, some are great mechanics, somebody will be extremely smart with software, and this is where I find my strong side. I match right jobs with right people, and I get very good outcome.
Okay.
While you've got some managers who say, okay, everybody is the same, here is your same tasks, and you get quite low outcome.
So, how do you determine where people are at, individually? Because what I hear you saying is that you can't treat the mass as understanding, let's say, the tasks that you're going to be. There's an individual. How do you come to realize that?
Uh, Again, when you have to work with people, as soon as you spend a day or two with somebody, you normally get a bit of flavor of what their core skills, where their gaps, and over the time, task by tasks, you'll see their strong sides.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Understand. What piece of advice would you give to someone that is about to enter a leadership role?
It's uh, it's an interesting question. When you you're making this step, you must have done something to be promoted. But credit of trust gonna evaporate quite quickly, and you need to have your plan in place. Whichever you do, you have to have plan A and plan B. And for engineers, it's normal. This is how you learn, this is how you grow, and this is how you solve tasks.
Understand.
Be, be patient, don't try to change the world in once.
Right. 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 Don't try to eat
Uh,
the entire
and,
pie in one sitting.
and know your people, know your people's strong sides, and unless you build a good relationship, unless you know you can trust your team, you won't succeed.
Yes.
And this is a key point. You should be able to rely on your team members. We're all together, we're working towards one vision, and it's your role to lead people. It's not just a title. It doesn't really matter what it says over here. It's the way how you act and the way how you work with people. You you know, I'm simple. I respect all of my colleagues, whether it's a cleaner, whether it's a line worker, whether it's my manager. I respect all of them.
Understood. What beliefs about leadership did you have to let go of? And then which new beliefs did you have to adopt? And you said one of them was the understanding that you can't, do everything at once. What are some of the other beliefs that you had to let go of?
I think I had it's more about managerial style. Maybe for me, management was more about dictatorship because this is a model which I've seen mostly when people uh, expect you to blindly do certain tasks. It doesn't sit well with me because, quite often I have a discussion with my engineers. Often we may come with a better solution rather than just go, switch off, and do what I've said.
Mm. Got it. So interesting. Uh, 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 the other side of the coin is what skills did you feel least prepared for when you started supervising people?
You can never have too much of people skills. You know, Communication is something which you'll be developing across all your career.
So one of them is communication. Um,
Yeah.
the,
You
Go ahead.
you'll be surprised in this multinational world. You'll come across very different people with very different backgrounds, and you have to find approach to all of them.
Hmm.
And it's not one key fits all doors.
Right. Right. One of the questions that I get asked a lot in the work that I do is around accountability and holding people accountable. How do you do that in your work, Paul?
Probably 5 or 7 years ago, I started to use photo proof. So after an engineer does a job, they take a picture, and till now it works quite well. And quite a lot of my colleagues picked up this approach. Quite often, I would go and check myself to ensure I'm satisfied with outcome.
Okay. So you combine technology with, conversations with folks.
You will see most businesses these days have got the technology in one way or another.
Yes. Yes. But whether they use them,
It's a different question. Well, you order stuff from Amazon, you want to see your parcel being delivered to your door.
yes.
Same with any job task. You've got people who should deliver certain tasks, and you want to see a notification the task been done.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Any training in specific that you took that helped you develop your skills?
Yes, I did. NIBOSH training. I believe it's recognized in states qualification as well. It helped quite a lot in terms of legal side and safety side. Again, safety is one of the topics where you can never stop learning,
Right. Right.
particularly in engineering.
Yeah, and things change so fast, especially in your field. That you got to keep up with them um, through whatever mechanism you can. Seminars, trainings, journal articles. I mean, whatever it might be. Yeah.
One of my personal targets, I try to attend at least five uh, trainings or seminars every year.
Oh, okay. Okay. And do you travel
So,
to those? Are those local or Zoom?
no, no, I try to attend in person because I'm probably a bit old style and I prefer to see my trainers live in a classroom. So last year I did number of lean seminars and one leadership uh, seminar, and I did few professional trainings on a lifting equipment. So I try to keep all my engineering qualifications up to date.
Yes. Yeah. And, I'm assuming you have to meet a certain number of uh, credits in order to recertify every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other things that you want to mention about making this shift up to a leadership role and some of the learnings that you've had to
You
adjust?
know, what I'll tell you that leadership role is not for everyone, and in a positive way. You know, I think we touched based it over our last conversation. And you know, some people would be uh, more happy in their ordinary role in terms of, you know, like shift engineer, process engineer, and they do not necessarily need a title because leadership itself is something which is one of natural habits. Yes, you can learn it, but if you're not feeling it's something for you, you should probably consider, is it right? What you're gonna get from it?
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this a week or so ago, and I think you're spot on. Not everybody is cut out to be a manager, supervisor, leader. They're very happy staying where they are and doing what they're doing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the problem is that in order to advance in pay, sometimes you have to climb that ladder, and that's where it gets to be a problem.
Well, it is current business model, uh, probably where you want to get an extra an extra pay. But for example, in UK, as a manager, you'll pretty much get the same as you're a good engineer on the shop floor.
Oh, okay.
So you know it's few percent difference. So probably in United States it's a bit different, but over here, you know, unless you really want a role,
Yep.
uh, money wise, you may be better on the shop floor.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So you're paid as a manager a little differential.
Yeah.
We're in the States. It could be a lot of, you know, uh, differential between a leader and an individual contributor. Yeah, I understand. Any other thoughts before we, wrap this up?
Uh, you know, I think it's in general, leadership can be a joy, it can be a challenge. It is how you gonna experience it. If it's right time, right place, you're gonna succeed. Wrong attitude, wrong business, wrong team, it will be a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen those, right? We see the managers that just aren't happy and, they take it on the workers. Well, Paul, I really want to thank you for being a guest. Your insights are pretty profound, and I love some of the conversation that you brought in about leadership. Some of your beliefs are the same as my beliefs, and I'm glad to hear that you use these in your day-to-day work. Uh, they're so important, and we need to treat people as people, right? Not as things.
You know, it takes time to get to those conclusions yourself.
Yes, yes, for sure. Well, this has been great. I want to thank you for all your insights, Mike Scarpone and uh, Paul. If people wanted to reach out to you, how could they contact you? They've-
My profile is open on a LinkedIn, so feel free to message me. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Great, thank you. So this concludes another episode, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next edition of Beyond the Title, going from individual to leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.